So I'm working on a Homestuck video, which is a companion piece to the Worm video I put out recently. However, in the process of making that video, I realized that Homestuck is such a convoluted mess that I simply could not summarize or explain it properly in the video. So instead what I'm doing is this video, where I'm going to explain Homestuck to my friend who knows nothing about Homestuck.
Hello.
Before we get into it, a few disclaimers. The first and most important is, this story deals very heavily with time travel, and it is not shy about it. There are things that exist because they exist, they self-perpetuate with no origin. I'm sorry, you're just gonna have to deal with it. Also, I am not talking about anything other than Homestuck, the main web thing. Anything posted from 4/13/2009 to 4/13/2016. So I'm not talking about the Snapchats, I'm not talking about the epilogues, or Hiveswap, or Homestuck 2. None of that. And finally, this story is extremely confusing and convoluted, and it is entirely possible that I will get some things wrong, but I'm going to try my best to get all of the major notes correct. So, starting off, we get to talk about Suburb, which is the main conceit of Homestuck, effectively. It is a game that ends the world. Except it isn't really a game that ends the world. It's more of a game that is played at the same time as the world ends.
Okay.
In that, the world ending is linked to Suburb being played, but they aren't actually cause and effect. They're caused by the same thing, I think.
Alrighty.
Suburb, unfortunately, is one of those things that exists because it exists, in that every time someone plays Suburb, they also create Suburb inside of the game. So where did it come from? Fuck if I know.
Hey then.
Yeah, no, get used to that. It's kind of like a virus in that Suburb isn't alive, but it clearly wants to self-perpetuate.
Okay. I'm following as best I can.
Yeah, I know. It's gonna be... We're gonna have to try and get through it together.
Alrighty.
So the main actual gameplay of Suburb is you just sort of mess around until you fall into a magical world built specifically for you that works based off of fantasy tropes and JRPG mechanics. It is very much like a video game. There are video game mechanics baked into it, even though you are playing it in real life. You're not, like, at your computer for the most part. You are for part of it, but for the most part you aren't. The interesting thing about Suburb is that it seems like these planets they're personalized, and they seem to be made specifically to facilitate coming-of-age journeys specific to their players, because it seems like for some reason Suburb is meant to be played by adolescents. It's not always played by adolescents, but it seems tailored to coming-of-age stories for people.
Okay.
And then finally, before we get into it proper, I just want to talk about the power system real quick, because it's really cool and I like it.
Fair enough.
Basically, based off of the JRPG mechanics, every person who plays Suburb is assigned a class and an aspect. And an aspect is like an element, effectively, or like a Pokemon type.
Okay.
So, and like class is how you interact with that element. So like, one of the characters is the Knight of Time, who we'll talk about later. So his class is Knight and his aspect is Time. Anyone who has the aspect of Time has time travel powers, but someone who's a Knight of Time uses time powers in like a specific type of way. There are
good.
12 classes and 12 aspects. So one of the aspects is light, which is both literal light, like shooting lasers and blinding people, but it's also metaphorical light, in that it's vision and presence. And one of the characters is, for example, the Thief of Light. And her narrative role is often to try and steal the spotlight. So there's this concept of, like, both elemental powers and narrative powers, which I find very fascinating and very effective.
Okay, using, like, different meanings of the word light.
Yes, exactly. And, like, all of the aspects do that.
Okay.
And also it's very fun because the classes and aspects combine together in a bunch of different ways. and they all say something about your personality. Like, there's a lot of, like, personality tests to see, like, what your class and aspect would be. That's really fun. It's very much like this is part of the reason why people are attached to this, because it's so personalizable.
Gotcha. Okay, that makes sense.
So we get into the average session of Suburb. Basically, the way it works is Suburb has two parts. There's the client and the server. So the client is the person who is, like, walking around in the world, and the server is the person who can interact with the client's world. So on the server's end, it looks like a game. You're at your computer, you can, like, deploy objects. It's like a sim, effectively.
Okay.
And the client then has to, like, go into the game world, which is called the medium, for future reference.
Gotcha.
So you can play the game with only two people, where person A is the client to person B, and then person B is the client to person A. That's not how most sessions work. Every major session that we see has B serves A, C serves B, D serves C, A serves D. So it loops around.
Convoluted, I love it.
Yeah, oh boy. So eventually you make it into the medium. You will eventually awaken on the moons of Prospit and Durst while you're dreaming. Once you awaken your dream self, every time you go to sleep, you will awake on either Prospit or Durst. Prospit and Durst are two planets made up of, I think their technical name is Carapacians, but I'm going to call them chess guys because there's a lot of chess theming around them and also playing card theming.
Okay. Like suits and stuff?
Yeah. That's where, like, the main bulk of the political game is. So there's both a combat aspect to Suburb and a political aspect to Suburb. And the political stuff happens on Prospit and Durst, where there is a king and a queen on each side, and Prospit has the white king and white queen, and Durst has the black king and black queen, and they're locked in, like, an endless war, and one of the goals of playing Suburb is to defeat the black king and black queen, because they're always fated to win if the players don't do something. Then you're supposed to complete your world's quest, which is personalized to the individual, at the end of which you will meet a denizen, which is, like, the lord of the world. It's a big-ass monster that gives you a riddle in, like, an unknowable language. Although one of the sessions, which we'll get into in a bit, none of them actually answered the riddle. They just immediately killed the denizen. They saw a boss monster and were like, why would I listen to this dumbass? I'm just going to fight it.
Sounds like a great plan. Punch it till it dies. Got it.
You can optionally ascend to the god tier via death, which... So the god tier is basically a power-up sequence where you gain conditional immortality and your powers are extremely pumped up. Like, they become way stronger, and you can, whenever you're killed, if your death isn't deemed either heroic or just, you instantly revive. The problem is, the only way to ascend to god tier is to find your quest bed at the end of your quest line, and then die on it. So...
Okay.
Kind of difficult.
One might say.
The main goal afterwards is to obviously defeat the Black King and Black Queen, and then you, in a perfect scenario, you then create and enter a new universe to live out your life, because your old universe is getting destroyed by meteors.
Well, okay then.
Which now brings us to what this story is actually about, which is aliens.
Yeah, of course. Just Studio Trigger it. Sure, why not?
See, that's the secret about Homestuck, is that it is actually about space and aliens the entire time.
Of course it is.
So these aliens are called trolls. They're basically humans in appearance and effect, the main difference being that they have gray skin and orange horns, and they also have extremely fucked up social structures, just like the worst.
So like humans.
No, you don't understand. let me
I'm assuming we'll get there.
Let me break it down for you real quick.
Okay.
So they have what is called a hemospectrum, which is this caste system based on the color of their blood. And it goes from 1 to 12, and it's on the color spectrum as well. So at the bottom is red, and at the top is magenta. And
Okay.
you have, each of them has one of these colors of blood. And the higher up on the spectrum you are, the more wealthy and powerful you are. And the lower down, the more of a shit life you have. it's it's not fun.
Okay, then.
The main thing about trolls that's like important to know because it's relevant to the story is, and I know it sounds stupid, but I promise this is the main relevant thing, is their romance and reproduction system.
Oh boy. Oh boy.
I swear this is actually important to the story.
I I believe you, nodding my head left and right.
The thing about troll romance is that it is kind of stupid.
Lovely start.
So they have this 4-quadrant system in that there is, and these are all types of relationship that a healthy and fulfilled troll has, where there is sexual romance, platonic romance, positive romance, and negative romance. So you can have positive sexual romance, negative sexual romance, positive platonic romance, and negative platonic romance.
Hey, this doesn't sound terrible so far.
So far, starting with the easiest ones to understand are the positive ones, because they're like kinda similar to how we conceptualize romance. Positive platonic romance for trolls is basically like, it's like a queer platonic relationship. It's like soulmates, but not really sexual in any way, or even not even necessarily romantic. It is sort of like soulmates in a very deeply connected, mutually dependent, but not in an unhealthy way.
Should I think of this as like a best friend sort of scenario, or
It's like a best friend, but like really, really deep, in the sense that part of the reason they need this is because their society is so fucked that they need mutual support, because there isn't any mutual support systems built in.
Okay.
So this is like, we balance each other out and make each other better.
Okay. Okay.
Then there's positive sexual romance, which is generally what people think of like a romantic relationship for humans. Generally, that's what they think of. It's not quite the same thing because it's much more heavily focused on sex, and also it's by definition not monogamous, and it's very specifically not valued any more or less highly than the other three types. Then there's negative sexual romance, which is basically hate fucking.
Oh, okay. Okay.
The way I like to, like the example that I like to use, which won't mean anything to you, but it's like Joker and Akechi in Persona 5, where they complete each other in a sort of like rivalish way, where they hate each other but they can't exist without each other, sort of thing.
Okay.
And they are definitely banging. Like, just nasty.
Got it.
And then there's the kind of, the fourth one, which is platonic negative romance, which is kind of stupid, to be clear.
Love that start.
Where, first of all, it's the only one that has 3 partners in it instead of 2.
Didn't you say one of the other ones was non-monogamous by definition?
They're all non-monogamous by definition, because a healthy troll has all 4 relationships filled, and they're not filled by the same person more than once. So the person you're in a positive sexual relationship with will not be the same person you're in a positive platonic relationship.
Okay.
So this final one is basically when there's it's basically couples counseling.
Okay.
It's like when 2 people hate each other, but not in a sexual way. A third person comes in to make sure that they don't kill each other.
Okay.
I think part of the context that will make this make a little bit more sense is that trolls live on a planet where there are only children.
I don't know if that makes it easier to understand or not.
So there's no therapy, there are no adults. The closest thing they have to caretakers are giant monsters that they have to feed. So they have like a whole system of emotional support baked into their romance, because it's the only place they can possibly get it.
All right. Kind of makes sense.
And so the reason this is important, and I swear it is important, I know it sounds stupid and unimportant, and it's going to sound stupid and unimportant for a long time, but it becomes relevant, I swear.
Okay.
Is that the way trolls reproduce is really, really stupid.
I'm so ready to hear it.
It's unclear exactly how it works, but it definitely involves both positive sexual romance partners and negative sexual romance partners giving off some form of genetic material together. Then it all mixes together and is fed to a grub, I think, which then spits out tiny trolls.
That seems totally normal. I don't see the problem here.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. It's never, like, explicitly shown in detail.
I would hope not.
But trolls do have ancestors, which they're not necessarily blood ancestors, because blood relation isn't really a thing. But when trolls make it out of the killing caverns, which they have to do when they're born, they're given a sign. So, for example, this one right here, Carcat, has this sign. Like, they wear it, and it's their thing.
Okay.
And there's, like, a huge library of signs. So when two trolls have the same sign, which is incredibly rare, they're considered like an ancestor and a descendant. And they're often like linked in, like, they have a sort of shared destiny sort of thing where it's like they parallel each other's lives. So now that we've got aliens, we can move on to our first set of aliens on Before-us.
These look like characters, that's for sure.
Yeah, so these are the trolls of Before-us. So, Before-us. I am sorry, there are 4 relevant universes to this story. This is the first.
Okay.
The main thing to know about Before-us is that the trolls are incredibly peaceful on Before-us. They're very, like, conflict adverse. They don't do a lot of, like, they're not very motivated. And that makes them really bad at playing Suburb. They're not good at video games that require conflict and fighting.
Okay. And these ones still have the negative romances?
As far as I can tell, yes.
Okay.
It's not explained super in depth, but I'm pretty sure they do.
Alright.
Oh, one other thing about trolls that I didn't mention is that a lot of them have psychic powers.
Oh, yeah, why wouldn't they?
It's just a thing that they have.
It's just a thing. Don't worry about it.
Of the 12 trolls in Before-us, only these 2 matter. We've got Mina and Arania. And they won't matter for a very long time, but they will matter.
You two will very much matter.
Yeah. So they play Spurb, but their session is doomed in part because they suck at video games. So they spend like a couple of months just fucking around and not doing anything. Right? Actually, it might be a couple of years for them, if I remember correctly. They really just, you're only supposed to be in there for about a month, but they fuck it up real bad.
They're only supposed to be in Spurb for a month?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like around a month. Because their session was doomed, they basically came up with this plan to initiate a game mechanic called a Scratch, which is basically a reboot button on the entire universe. It reboots the universe, but switches the positions of the ancestors and the descendants. So in Before-us, these Mina and Urania and friends play. But when they scratch the universe and reboot it, Mina and Urania will be the ancestors to the people who do end up playing.
Okay, so that's their relevancy.
For now. They'll get more relevant later. That's the relevancy of all these other ones, but Mina and Urania get more stuff. So they reset the universe, leading us to Alternia. And yes, the 2 universes' names are Before-us and Alternia. Alternia is the second of our 4 relevant universes, and it's much more prevalent than Before-us. The main thing to remember here is that the trolls here are incredibly violent, in part because with the reset universe, they were reset in such a way that they would be the most successful Suburb session ever, which isn't entirely true, but their society was built around violence and destruction to be really good at killing things. And their session is mostly successful, despite the fact that they are all sociopaths and are just huge dicks to each other all the time.
Love that.
Their session started as a competition between 2 teams because they're that uncooperative. 2 of them got into a duel to the death, for no reason.
Why not? Spice up things, you know?
Yeah. But they do manage to defeat the Black King and Black Queen and make their new universe. However, right as they're about to enter their new universe, they are ambushed and attacked by a demigod who appears out of nowhere and forces them to run the fuck away.
Well, okay then.
While they hide on a meteor, and that meteor has, like, computers and stuff for some reason. I don't know if that's ever explained. But they can use those computers to monitor and interact with the universe they just made somehow.
So,
I don't know how.
So, let me get this straight. So, Alternia is the rebooted before us?
Yes.
And then they, on Alternia, make a new universe, which is, I assume, what's going to be on the next slide.
Correct. Except they don't get to enter their new universe because they get stopped by the demigod first.
Okay.
So this universe they make is Earth A.
Oh god. The worm's coming back to me, oh no.
We've made it to Earth, guys! So this is the third of our 4 relevant universes, and it's the one where most of Homestuck takes place. It is basically just our Earth. It's got Harry Anderson and Bill Cosby and Barack Obama. But, like...
Yeah, the only important people, yeah, that makes sense.
Look, I wasn't the one who wrote this, and it was written in 2009, okay?
Well, you know.
Oh, and Nick Cage is a big part of Homestuck.
What? We'll get there. I assume we'll get there.
Kinda. I mostly skip it in this presentation because it doesn't matter, but he is a big part of Homestuck.
Why not?
The main difference between Earth A and our Earth is that there are just weird game mechanics baked in. Everyone has an inventory system.
Sure.
Basically, it doesn't matter. But it is the place where Homestuck begins in Act 1. And I'm going to be honest, Act 1 is kind of controversial because a lot of people don't like it. I love Act 1. It's so dumb. To speed through it, it is John's 13th birthday, this one being John right here.
Okay, Ghostbusters guy, got it.
Yep. And he wants to play this new game called Suburb with his friends. So he starts it up with Rose, who is this one here.
Gotcha, weird pink Punisher-looking girl, got it.
I believe it is supposed to be an eldritch squid, like a Cthulhu-looking thing.
Okay, that makes more sense. Gotcha.
So they stumble through Suburb with Rose as the server player and John as the client player. And eventually they make it so they realize John is about to be hit by a giant fucking meteor.
Oh, that's meteors all over the place today.
Oh, yeah. And right before he does, he bites into a magic apple that he got from playing Suburb and is transported into the medium. So he makes it into the game world without getting crushed by a meteor. End of Act 1.
Sounds good.
It goes to Act 2. John is exploring the medium, fighting imps, which are low-level monsters, basically. They're chess guys from Durst, but they are just kinda weaklings who you fight and you get money from killing them. This is also where, like, John is learning the game mechanics and, like, figuring out what the fuck is going on. Meanwhile, back on Earth, meteors are starting to become a real big problem for the world. They're just, like, crashing in and destroying shit. Just all over the goddamn place. There's, like, a satellite monitor thing that Rose has that, like, shows where meteors are coming, and she's got, like, 2 hours before meteors hit her house.
Okay.
So, her solution is get into the medium, which she can't do right now because John lost his copy of the game and is also busy fighting imps. So she enlists their other friend, Dave, this guy right here, to get her into the medium. The problem is Dave lost his copy of the games in a bird sword related accident. So he has to go get
those happen all the time.
Oh, they do. He's got swords for days. So he has to go get his bro's copies because his bro also has copies and is not planning to play them, but he has those copies. So Dave is like, well, shit, I guess I gotta go get those.
So his bro, like his bro or like his brother?
Like his brother. He is always referred to as bro. We'll get into later their actual relationship, but they live together and they have, like, a sibling relationship where his bro is, like, both his caretaker. He's an elder brother figure.
Okay.
So concurrently in the future, I'm sorry, this is where time shenanigans start to get really annoying.
Oh, fantastic.
In the future post-apocalyptic Earth, chess guys from the session of Suburb that John, Rose, and Dave are playing go to post-apocalyptic Earth and start to repopulate it. The problem is, These chess guys are from that game, so they interact with people in the game. And then on post-apocalyptic Earth, they get computers that lets them talk to humans in the medium, including the people who they are interacting with in the past.
Yeah, uh-huh.
So, the mayor here, for example, who is the best character in the entire thing, the mayor is wonderful. The mayor interacts with John while John is adventuring. Then the adventure happens, the mayor ends up on post-apocalyptic Earth, and then he uses the terminal to message John in the past.
Some real notebook shit happening here. I love it.
So they're basically re-establishing society on Earth, while the people who play Suburb are making a new universe. And we've got the mayor, we've got the post lady, and we've got a policeman. They'll be relevant again later, kind of. Act 3, it's Jade time. So the fun part about Act 3 is, like, we've had all of this build-up for Jade. She's been, like, teased for a long time at this point, and now we finally get to, like, actually see her. And she's had, like, mysterious things going on this entire time, where, like, she seems to know more than she should, and she has all these wacky mechanics and stuff. The reason she knows things is because she is already awake on Prospit. And people who are, while you're on Prospit, clouds pass by that show you, like, glimpses of the future. So she has, like, an idea of things that are happening while ever she's asleep. She, like, sees things that will happen in the future. She lives alone on an uninhabited island in the middle of the Pacific, and she has a bunch of, like, high-tech shit like teleporters and an Iron Man suit.
It's normal things
things.
For a girl. Yeah.
And she is 13, to be clear. But the weirdest thing that she has is she has a pet dog who is a demigod.
Oh, yeah. The pet demigod dog. Yeah.
Yes.
Everyone knows about that. Yeah, for sure.
Which is incredibly relevant, but not for a while. So we're just going to accept that she has a pet demigod dog for now.
I've just been accepting everything as we go, so...
Meanwhile, Dave is trying to get his bros copies of Suburb, and he gets his ass kicked in an epic rooftop showdown, and it is awesome. It's just amazing. He gets his ass kicked, but his bro gives him the copies of Suburb anyway, and then flies away on a skateboard.
Sure.
So Dave sets up to get Rose into the medium, but before Rose does, she's like, hey, you guys gotta get in here too, because meteors are about to crash into your house in a couple hours. So we are now on a time limit.
Fantastic.
Which brings us to Act 4, Welcome to Homestuck. This is, like, where Homestuck really kicks off. Not chronologically in the timeline, but in, like, the web comic, effectively.
Okay.
So the trolls are interacting with humans at this point, and because of a terminology thing, they are trolling the humans, but for them, trolling means, like, talking to them, whereas the humans see that they're trolls and are like, you're assholes on the internet who we're not going to talk to. Basically, the important part is the trolls are now interacting with the humans, and they're now relevant to the story for basically the first part and for the rest of the series. Jade gets Dave into the medium, John and Rose are exploring their planets, and then Terezi, this troll right here, fools John into doing something extremely stupid.
Love that.
Basically, she gives him the code to create a jetpack, because there's, like, a crafting system in the game.
Okay.
And she's like, okay, here's how you skip your quest and go right to the end. And John, like a dumbass, is like, okay, sure, I'll do that.
I can only assume that went well.
Oh, it went super well. You're not supposed to skip to the final boss at level 10. God, why would he do this? Anyway, this is where we are introduced to time travel, because until now it hasn't been relevant. John gets his ass kicked by his denizen and just killed. And because John is dead, he can't get Jade into the game. And because Jade can't get into the game, it's just Rose and Dave stuck in Suburb, unable to actually finish the game.
Okay.
And they spend, like, a few months just having a bad time. Until Dave, who is the Knight of Time, so he has time powers, fully preps up, gets all of his shit together, and goes back in time to stop John from being a dumbass.
Perfect.
So this is how time travel works for the rest of this thing. There are two types of time travel. There's stable time loops, and there's time splinters. A stable time loop is where it works perfectly. So future me comes back and high-fives past me. Past me becomes future me, goes back in time to high-five past me, who is now present me. So
Okay.
that's a stable time loop. A time splinter is when something that isn't supposed to happen happens, and it creates a timeline. They're called beta timelines, whereas the main timeline that is actually has stuff happening is the alpha timeline.
Oh, this won't get confusing at all.
No, I know, it definitely won't. But basically, this is our introduction to how time travel works. Dave is now... There's both a future Dave who prototypes himself, which I'll get into in a second, and past Dave, who is normal Dave from now on.
Okay.
So now we get to talk about things exist because they exist. I am so sorry. This is probably the single most mindfucky part of the entire story.
Based off what I'm reading, I can only agree with you.
Yeah. So, part of Suburb involves the players creating themselves. In the human session, this is John, who John clones copies of himself, his friends, and their parents as babies, and then sends them back in time to become themselves, who he can then clone in Suburb.
Yeah, okay. Stable time loops shit. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah,
It's a stable
okay.
time loop, except he couldn't fucking do that if it didn't already happen, so where did it come from? The even worse part, okay, so it's John's 13th birthday, and all of his friends decide to give him like a themed gift. They all get him a stuffed bunny rabbit. Dave gets him a stuffed bunny rabbit from a Nick Cage movie, which is... I wasn't going to bring this up, but I brought up Nick Cage earlier, so I have to bring up the fact that it is genuine Nick Cage movie memorabilia.
Love that.
Rose gives him a stuffed bunny that's been in her family since she was a baby, that's sort of like in disrepair, and she repairs it with her yarn and knitting needles that John got her for her birthday. And Jade gives John a bunny that's been in her family for a long time that she repaired with robotics. So John's got all three of these bunnies. When he's sending the babies back in time, he gives baby Rose the bunny that Dave gave him, and baby Jade the bunny that Rose gave him. Which means baby Rose has the bunny that Dave gave him, which then becomes the bunny that she gives John, which then becomes the bunny that Jade gets as a baby, which then becomes the bunny that she gives John. It's all the same bunny.
I hate all of that. So he gets 3 bunnies, but they're all the same bunny, actually.
Yes.
But they're also at the same time not the same bunny.
Correct.
Okay.
It is maddening.
I'm already infuriated.
Anyway, so we've talked about the Black King and Black Queen, and the White King and the White Queen. There is another standard part of Suburb, another standard character in Suburb who is important, who is Jack Noir, who is from Durst, which makes him the Black Jack. So he's part of the card motif, basically, as opposed to the chess motif. And his role is basically that he doesn't like the monarchy, but he's also an asshole who doesn't like the Prospect monarchy either. But in the human session specifically, there is an anomaly, like a series of events happens that leads to Jack killing the Black Queen way ahead of schedule, that then rapidly accelerates the game thing. So like I said, you're supposed to like have at least a month to play Suburb. They are 1 day in, and they are already like accelerating to the end of the game state.
Oh no.
So that's not good.
Yeah, one might say.
Part of this politic thing, where Jack Noir kills the queen and gets her power, which I'll get into a bit later, involves him attacking Prospect, and in that attack, Jade's dream self is killed. Which is a problem because dream selves exist as like extra lives, which again I will get into a bit more later. But she no longer has a dream self. However, no, I'm not going to talk about that yet. It's too annoying. I refuse to talk about it until I have to. Anyway, when Dave went back in time, the Rose from that timeline sort of merged into the Rose of the current timeline, which later canon sort of like makes it seem like that shouldn't be possible. But because the time travel stuff was only being developed now, it happens, which doesn't really make sense, but whatever. So
sure.
Because Rose has memories from the future, that the timeline that got erased, she's starting to get a little edgy, because she got edgy in that timeline. Alright, so that brings us to Act 5, Act 1. It's troll time. So,
Sorry, Act 5, Act 1, question
Yep.
mark?
Act 5 is split into two parts. There's Act 5, Act 1, and Act 5, Act 2. Act 5, Act 1 is basically just the troll session, which I already explained, but this is where we see it. This is where we're shown all that stuff for the first time. Where it ends with the demigod appearing and killing all their dream selves, so now they don't have any dream selves either. And Karkat, their leader, basically determines that it is the humans' fault that the demigod fucked them over, and so he decides to be mean about it. These are the four important trolls, and they all decide to, like, adopt one of the humans. Kanaya decides to talk to Rose a lot, and they start sort of getting along. Terezi and Vriska are fucking sociopaths, and they come up with, like, a fucked up competition to, like, see which of them can make the better guy get stronger and cooler. So Terezi chooses Dave, and Vriska chooses John, and they basically decide to, like, have a weird competition between each other to see which one of their chosen champions can become cooler. Keep in mind that they can see the entire human timeline, so they already know what happens.
Yeah.
And then there's Karkat, who talks to all of the kids, but, like, mostly to John and Jade. And Karkat does something really funny and really stupid that I love, which is the first conversation he has with John, he embarrasses himself, and it's, like, at the end of John's timeline. So he can't talk to John in the future anymore, and he has embarrassed himself. And John very specifically talks how, like, this is not his first conversation with Karkat. So Karkat decides to troll John backwards in time. Karkat's first conversation with John is John's, like, 7th or 8th with him. Karkat's second conversation with John is John's 6th. Eventually we get to the point where as Karkat becomes friends with John, John doesn't know shit about Karkat, so they're becoming friends in reverse.
Okay, yeah.
It's really stupid. So the first time Karkat and John talk, he's being friendly with John, and John's like, "You're a dickhead, and I'm gonna block you." And Karkat's like, "Wait, no, hold on, we're friends now." Anyway, Act 5, Act 2, we're back with the humans. So John gets Jade into the medium, and then Vriska, in her process of doing stuff to help John get powerful, basically tricks him into becoming a god tier.
By accident?
Well, she knows what she's doing. John has no fucking clue what's going on.
Gotcha, okay.
The thing is, Vriska and Terezi do this a lot, and some of the other trolls do it too, where they see things that happen, and they decide they want to be the reason they happen, because they know they're already going to happen, so they decide to be the reason that thing happens.
Ah, the narcissism. Gotcha.
Yeah, no, it's awful, where it's like, this wouldn't have happened if you hadn't decided you wanted it to happen because you wanted to be the person to happen, and because you are the person who wanted to make it happen, it already happened.
I love time shenanigans.
Anyway, Dave starts abusing his time travel to play the stocks, where basically he makes a lot of in-game currency and uses it to buy, not consumable items, you buy, like, items that unlock abilities. So basically Dave games the market and buys all of their powerful shit for all of the humans. And then Dave and Jade start breeding frogs, which is one of the main goals of the game was to make a universe, right?
Yep.
So the universe is a frog.
Universe is a frog.
And to make that universe, they have to breed frogs until they have the correct frog to make a universe. And normally that takes, like, weeks, but Dave abuses his time travel to make it go faster because, again, they're, like, one day in and things are going to shit.
Okay.
While this is happening, Rose has, like, realized that their session is kind of unwinnable, so she decides to just, like, fuck around and see how much she can break. Which is definitely a good idea.
I think so.
Which now leads us to the creation of Bec Noir, the unbeatable demidog. Which requires some explaining. So...
Yes, please.
One of the game mechanics is something called a kernel sprite, where when you enter the medium, the kernel sprite splits. Okay, hold on, let me retrace my steps for a second. The kernel sprite will accept anything that is sufficiently lifelike into it. And when you put something sufficiently lifelike into it, that's called prototyping it. Prototyping a sprite basically makes it take on the aspects of the thing you prototyped it with. So, for example, Dave prototypes a dead bird into his sprite, so his sprite gets wings and can fly now. If you prototype your sprite before you enter the medium, whatever you prototype the sprite with will then affect all of the chess guys. John prototypes, before he enters the medium, like a clown doll, And so all of the imps and chess guys wear clown clothes now. This is like effectively a balancing tool for the game, because every time someone prototypes something before entering the medium, the queen and the king, who have a ring and a scepter, they each get the aspects of whatever was prototyped, and it makes them stronger each time. So normally having more people in your party would make it a force multiplier, but adding more people to your party also makes the enemies stronger.
Okay.
So it's a game balancing tool. The problem is, if you don't prototype your sprite at least once before entering the game, your session is automatically a failure. It cannot be completed. And Jade's pet dog knows this, because he's a demigod, or a demidog.
Yeah.
And Vriska, while John is setting up for Jade to get into the medium, Vriska notices this and decides to become a problem. And this is perhaps the stupidest thing anyone ever... Well, okay, maybe not. There's one thing that might be a little more dumb. Where Vriska decides to use her psychic powers, which normally lets her mind control people, but across universes, or I guess it's on humans, it only lets her put people to sleep. She puts John to sleep as he is about to prototype something. And Becquerel, Jade's dog, realizing that she is about to enter the medium without a prototyped sprite, prototypes himself, which is a massive problem because he is a demigod, which means the Black Queen and Black King both get demigod powers.
Oh. That might be a problem.
Yeah. Keep in mind, this demigod is also the one that fucked over the troll session, so Vriska causes her own problems too.
Lovely.
Anyway, now that they've created an unbeatable demidog, what do? Well, Rose hatches a plan to destroy the Green Sun. What is the Green Sun, you ask? Well, for that, we get to talk about the actual greater scope big bad villain of the story, who is an alien named Lord English. He's a different type of alien to trolls. He's what is called a cherub. And he very specifically also played Spurb. And he got what is called... So I said there were 12 classes and 12 aspects. That's mostly true, but there are actually 14 classes, 2 of which are normally unattainable because they're, like, bonkers broken.
Okay.
They're called the master classes, and Lord English got one of the master classes. And his aspect is time. And his class is called Lord. So he becomes the Lord of Time, which makes him basically the master of time travel. He doesn't really exist for anything except general mayhem and destruction, and to, like, keep existing. So because of his time powers, he already exists everywhere and every when. Which is stupid, but it is true.
It is a little stupid.
And one of his minions is a guy named Doc Scratch. Which brings us to the Green Sun and its first guardians. So every planet destined to play Spurb creates Spurb, and when they create Spurb, they also create a first guardian, which is a demigod that is powered by a big sun called the Green Sun. And first guardians have near omnipotence and minor omniscience, meaning they're near omnipotence, they have instant teleportation of any number of people to anywhere they want at any time. Just the most broken teleportation powers possible. They can be anywhere they want at any moment, and they can make anyone else be anywhere they want at any moment too. They also, their minor omniscience is that they can see pretty much everything everywhere, and they have really good processing power, but there are notable holes in their abilities to see that characters often exploit. Earth's first guardian is Becquerel, who is Jade's dog, and Alternia's is a guy named Doc Scratch. Because the first guardians are created in the Spurb sessions, they can be manipulated or influenced during the creation. And Lord English influenced the creation of Doc Scratch and Alternia to make a very powerful first guardian demigod minion. How is this possible when Lord English doesn't exist at the time of Doc Scratch's creation? Go fuck yourself.
I forgot about that little detail.
Yeah.
Yep.
So Doc Scratch's whole purpose, because he was influenced at his creation by Lord English, is to be a gateway and a host body for Lord English. And to that end, he manipulates Vriska and Kanaya in the troll session and Rose in the human session. So, Rose comes up with this plan to blow up the Green Sun, because Bec Noir, who is currently destroying their session is powered by the green sun. So if they blow up the green sun, they remove the power, which means you can't fuck them over anymore. This idea comes from Doc Scratch, who is also powered by the green sun and is working for Lord English, which makes it kind of suspect, but he also recommends creating a Scratch to reset the universe because their session is unwinnable, and Rose knows their session is unwinnable, and so one of the ways to solve the unwinnable problem is to do the Scratch. The problem is, Doc Scratch is objectively a villain. Doc Scratch wants them to blow up the green sun and use the Scratch mechanic because Lord English is born in the rebooted universe. So he wants the same thing, but he wants it for bad reasons, which is how a lot of villains work. All of these schemings and counter-schemings is interrupted by the fact that Bec Noir is still rampaging across the session and just destroying things all over the place.
Gotcha.
Which brings us to Act 5, Act 2, Grimdark Edition. So Bec Noir, I didn't mention this because it doesn't really come up much, but when you enter the medium, you also take your house. And John's dad and Rose's mom were in their respective houses when they entered the medium, as was Dave's bro. So they got brought to the medium as well. And they've just sort of been wandering around, and they have like a little romance arc, which is kind of sweet, I guess.
Okay.
And then Bec Noir he just like walks up and kills them instantly. And Rose sees this and immediately loses her fucking mind. She basically gets corrupted by outer gods, which are a thing that don't really matter. They come a couple of times, but they don't matter. She goes what is called the Grimdark, which is a dumb concept, but basically means she is corrupted by the outer gods and is now kind of evil, but gets some powers. So she goes to then challenge Bec Noir, even though she is like so vastly outmatched that it is not even a contest. And John joins her because he's in the area, and Bec Noir predictably just like immediately kills them. And then also teleports and kills Dave for good measure, because fuck it, why not?
Sure.
The thing is, he can't kill Jade because he inherited Becquerel's love for Jade. He tries to kill Jade and can't. But, luckily, John is a god tier at this point, and his death was not deemed heroic or just, so he immediately resurrects. And, luckily, Rose and Dave both have their dream selves, and the dream selves are basically a second life if you smooch the corpse of the person whose dream self you want to resurrect them as. I'm not joking. That is how you resurrect people.
Well, okay then.
So Jade smooches Dave and John smooches Rose, and they resurrect their dream selves. At this point, we're very quickly nearing the end of where the trolls can see, because, like, time is catching up to them. So they're conferring with each other, and basically they decide to go ahead with the Scratch plan because they've got a new twist on it, which is they blow up the green sun and commit the Scratch at the same time, which will cause a huge rift in space-time that they can then all go through, and instead of being, like, annihilated, they can go into the new universe by sort of, like, going through the rift. So they'll meet up and go into the new universe together, and hopefully things will work out.
Fingers crossed.
Yep. And then Jade also finishes breeding her frogs. So the thing is, once the frogs are bred, that doesn't make the universe. They need to all finish their quests and, like, release the hordes and, like, beat the Black King and Black Queen, and then the frog becomes the universe. So I guess right now it's a tadpole, which means it hasn't fully matured. But she finished it, so it's set up to go eventually.
Gotcha.
Which brings us to Act 5, Act 2, The Trolls Go Crazy. So this is where the troll societal structure of them all being sociopaths becomes extremely relevant. So they've been cooped up on this meteor for about 10 hours with nothing to do or kill, which means they're going to start killing each other.
Perfect.
So the first, like, major thing that happens is Feferi, she bargains with the outer gods to create something called the dream bubbles, which normally when your dream self is asleep and you go to sleep, you just get, like, bad dreams of, like, the outer gods sort of messing with you. She sets it up so that now you go into these dream bubbles, and here's where it stops making sense. Dream bubbles are also a place where dead people from alternate timelines go, and also dead people from the current timeline can live as ghosts. This is responsible for the dumbest plot line in the webcomic. But basically, death means that you can no longer really influence the living world, but you can just, like, hang out with your friends still, I guess. Meanwhile, Vriska decides to go 1v1 Bec Noir, which is stupid. She is not strong enough to beat him. If she was strong enough to beat him, she could have fought him with all of her friends when he first showed up.
Okay.
But she decides to anyway, and then she taunts Tavros. So Vriska basically says, hey, I'm gonna go do something stupid, and Tavros is like, alright, I'm gonna stop you. So Tavros challenges Vriska and gets just absolutely wrecked immediately, because Vriska is a god tier and Tavros is kind of a wimp.
Gotcha.
Meanwhile, Aridin decides to do something even more stupid than Vriska. Vriska at least is like, I'm gonna go challenge Bec Noir. Aridin is like, I'm going to go join Bec Noir. I'm going to go be his lackey. The guy who's only done destruction and killing with no plan is definitely going to accept me as a lackey and not kill me on sight, trust. Anyway, he tries to bring Feferi with him because he's in love with Feferi, and Feferi's like, no, that's stupid, and also I don't like you like that. And so Solix, who is Feferi's boyfriend, kind of, is like, hey, you're being a dumbass, so Aridin knocks the fuck out of Solix until Solix is, like, he blinds Solix and, like, knocks him out, and then Feferi's like, hey, why the fuck did you do that? And he kills her. So, good job there, bud. Really accomplished your goals.
Yeah, kill the one you love. Yeah, sure, why not?
Aradia, at this point, is a robot ghost who exploded a while back and then ascended to god tier, but she's kind of just gone for the moment. Gamzee just snapped at some point. He just, like, completely lost it. He let the intrusive thoughts win, and just, like, he went nuts. And he killed Equus and Nepeta. Why? It's kind of unclear. I think it's partially because he spends, like, most of the story incredibly high, like, stoned off his ass, and then he runs out of weed. And his first response to that is to start killing.
Yeah, I think I agree. Yeah, why not?
Oh, Aridin also, like, kills Kanaya, but Kanaya turns out to be a vampire, so she comes back to life, which is dumb and is not set up, but is also true. Aridin and Vriska are both, like, they go to the edge of the meteor to go try and fight and join Bec Noir, respectively, and Gamzee shows up just to, like, sort of be a dick. And then Kanaya shows up and just chainsaws Aridin in half, and it is so fucking funny. Like, they have this badass showdown, and then Kanaya just pops up out of nowhere and chainsaws him in half.
Oh, sure.
And then she kicks Gamzee in the nuts for good measure.
Just in case.
Just in case. At this point, Terezi is convinced that Vriska has been killing a bunch of people and not just Tavros. So she comes up with, like, a mind game and baits Vriska, and Vriska falls for the bait and gets killed like a dumbass. And at this point, the scratch is currently happening. So Solix and Aradia, who are both very powerful psychics, decide to stay behind so that they can shove the meteor through the rift.
Okay.
So, final count. We have 5 dead trolls who are no longer relevant to the story. Tavros, Nepeta, Equius, Aridin, and Feferi. We have 3 alive trolls who are no longer relevant to the story. Aradia and Solix, who decide to stay behind, and Gamzee, who, like, serves a purpose, but never really does anything else ever again. We've got Vriska, who is dead, and yet for some reason is still relevant to the story, because dying cannot stop her from trying to do things. And then we've got 3 trolls who are both alive and relevant, which are Karkat, Terezi, and Kanaya. You'll notice that the relevant characters are the 4 trolls who were actively trolling the humans, which is just, like, smart usage of resources and time. This brings us to the end of Act 5. So, they put their plan into motion, John starts the scratch, Rose and Dave go to blow up the Green Sun. The thing is, it's a suicide mission, and they are both already their dream selves because they lost that, so they're not coming back. Jade gets killed. I think she just gets blown up in, like, a random explosion. I don't remember why, but she gets killed. And Bec Noir is like, oh, well, that sucks. She is my friend, and so he moves her to her quest bed so she can resurrect as a god tier. The thing is, normally that wouldn't work, but her dream self got taxidermied at some point, and so she fuses with her taxidermy dream self. But she also threw her dream self into her sprite, so now Jade is part dog and also has demigod powers, except not as strong demigod powers.
Why not?
Why not? Rose and Dave also find their quest crypts, which are like quest beds, but not. I think they're, like, better hidden and only work for dream selves, maybe? Which is where the Green Sun is supposed to be, but the Green Sun isn't there, so they blow up the thing that isn't there and kill themselves, but because they're on their quest crypts, they ascend to god tier. So now they're all god tiers. Bec Noir gets tired of not being able to kill anything because everything to kill is gone here, so he goes to post-apocalypse Earth and tries to kill. So he successfully kills the policeman, which, rest in peace, whatever. And then he stabs the mayor in the back, which is just frankly rude. Luckily, the mail lady has the ring that. The mayor was safeguarding the White Queen's ring, which lets you get all the prototyping powers. But the mayor hates kings and queens and only likes democracy, so he refused to put the ring on. So the mail lady put the ring on, and she becomes basically the same thing as Bec Noir with all the same powers, except she hates him, so they spend the rest of the story, chasing around and fighting each other.
Love that.
With the scratch fully started, Jade uses her new demigod powers to grab John and push them through a thing called the fourth wall, which doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. They're on a ship. They're going into the new session. Meanwhile, Rose and Dave pop through the scratch in the same place as the troll meteor. So now they're on the troll meteor, and this journey is going to take them 3 years. So they're going to spend 3 years in transit before they get to the new universe.
Okay.
And as a byproduct of this explosion and scratch thing Lord English has created, it's not really explained how, but it doesn't really matter, I don't think. Anyway, with the final rebooted universe, that brings us to Earth B, the final of our 4 relevant universes, which is basically Earth A, but completely fucked.
I can see why you did this after Worm.
Right?
I can understand now.
The thing about Earth B is that when we get there in 2011, we're 5 years out from... Oh god, how do I even describe this? Okay. So the baking mascot Betty Crocker.
Yeah?
In the world of Homestuck, Betty Crocker is the alias of a troll named Her Imperial Condescension, or the Condess for short, who goes to Earth because she's working for Lord English to basically take it over and cause problems. And she uses Betty Crocker as an alias, and she also destroys the world.
And is apparently alien fish Hitler.
Well, yeah, because she's a troll.
Yeah, sure, okay.
She is, in fact, the ancestor troll of the fairy, who is Mina in this. So she's this universe's version of Mina. I said Mina would be important again later. We're almost where she's important.
Gotcha.
So, we're in 2011, where this takes place. We are now 10 years out from her just straight up taking over the Earth. But Earth B also takes place 400 years in the future. Which...
Or?
Actually, I think technically it's 413 years in the future.
A nice even number.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Roxy and Dirk, these two in the middle here, live 400 years in the future, where Jane and Jake, the two on the ends, live in the present. Roxy and Dirk can communicate into the past with their computers, but on a one-to-one time schedule. So, when it's year 2424, January 1st at 2 p.m., Roxy can message Jane on 2011, January 1st, 2 o'clock p.m. So they're in sync on time, they're just 400 years forward.
Okay.
Dirk and Roxy got put into the future by the time travel thingy when John made them. These are the same people, so John still made these ones, and they just got sent back in time here. They are the only 2 humans alive in 400 years. The Condess has fully destroyed the Earth and killed all the humans.
I understand the alien fish Hitler. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Understand.
Jane also is the heiress to the Betty Crocker franchise. She does not know that Betty Crocker is alien fish Hitler, but I don't know. I don't know how it works. I don't know why he decided to write it like this. But he did. Anyway, Act 6, Welcome to Hell. So, from here on out, the act structure officially doesn't work anymore. This is the second half of the comic, effectively. The first half was 5 acts, Act 5 being split into 2. The second half is all Act 6.
Oh, yeah. Why not?
We get to the point where basically the final thing before the finale is Act 6, Intermission 5. The act structure no longer matters.
Okay, yeah, I think I caught that much.
So, the problem with Earth B is that the Spurb session has been, completely fucked even before, any of the players enter the medium. Partially because the Condess has usurped Durst, she's gotten rid of the Black King and Black Queen already. And she basically sets into motion a bunch of stuff. Like, she sends Jack Noir from this version to go assassinate Jake and Jane's dream selves, but he's successful in killing Jake's dream self, which means his extra life is gone immediately. But her aspect is life, so when Jack tries to kill Jane, she just, like, resurrects even though she's still asleep. While he's doing that, Jack gets captured on Prospect, and he is now in jail. Which is, for some reason, the thing that they have.
Yeah, okay.
Meanwhile, because the Condesce is in control of Durst, Roxy is sleepwalking, and her aspect is Void, which is the inverse of light, which means she's very hard to find and very hard to, like, track down and keep a hold of. So she's fine. Dirk, meanwhile, is leading a series of revolutions on Durst, because not all of, but, like, most of the chess people on Durst are not bad people. They just have shitty kings and queens who force them to fight. Like, the mayor is from Durst, and the mayor is based. So the session is just completely fucked from the jump. The other problem is that, by happenstance, none of the kernel sprites get prototyped before they enter, which makes the session unwinnable by default. But instead of being a null session, which is a session that's doomed to fail, it is what's called a void session, which means that nothing ever advances. It's basically stuck in a state of total immobility. So the armies never go to war, none of the politics happen, so they're stuck there. And because nothing's happening, like, all their quests can't progress, all of their NPCs are dead, and so because nothing can happen, instead of, like, drama related to, like, time shenanigans or fighting or any of that, they have, like, messy teenager 16-year-old drama. So Act 6, Act 1, and Act 2. Jane tries to start playing Suburb, but Roxy doesn't want her to play Suburb because the Condesce wants her to play Suburb, and Roxy just wants to shove it to the Condesce, even though they do need to play Suburb. Jake, meanwhile, is sending the robot bunny that Jade used across universes and time, even though he shouldn't have existed at that point. Don't worry about it doesn't make sense.
As most of this doesn't, yep.
Dirk eventually helps Jane start Suburb and gets her into the medium, and at the end of Act 1 and Act 2 for Act 6, we get a little intermission with the humans and trolls on their way to the new session, and they are not having a good time. John is just straight up depressed. Jade is dating Bird Dave, who is Dave from the future who became a sprite, and not actual Dave. Dave and Karkat are sort of in a fight for who gets to date Terezi. Terezi is, like, slowly going off the handle. Rose is becoming an alcoholic. And, like, they're a mess. It's not good.
How old are these trolls?
The trolls and humans are all 13 at the start of the story, and by Act 6, Act 1, and Act 2, they're about 15.
Okay.
This is also where Mina and Urania appear again for the first time.
I'm sorry, appear again for the first time?
Yeah, because we've already talked about them, but this is the first time they appear in the comic.
Okay.
Which brings us to the kind of dumb Dream Ghost plotline. This is the worst part of the story. It doesn't matter, and yet it's, like, a big part. It just happens for the rest of the story in the background, and here's the worst part. It never gets fully resolved. It just, like, the climax doesn't finish. So, what are we doing here? Why are we here? Ghost Vriska is looking for a treasure that can apparently defeat Lord English. Ghost Mina is raising an army to go fight Lord English. And Ghost Urania is searching for Calliope, or Calliope, depending on how you want to pronounce it. But also, it is Lord English's inverse opposite, which we will get into eventually. Urania doesn't know who Calliope is, but she does know that apparently Calliope is, like, vital to defeating Lord English. They eventually decide to do all three of those things at once, which is efficient, which means at least we get to spend less time with them. John does meet up with them twice. The first time he meets up right before they join forces, and he gets what is called the Ring of Life, which is confused. I don't remember exactly how it came to be, but I think it's one of the rings from Earth B's session. Because they didn't prototype anything, it doesn't give people the power of the prototypes. Instead, its power is that it brings ghosts to life. So if a ghost puts on the ring, they become alive again.
Sure.
So John gets that, and then the second time he meets up with them, it's right as they're about to find the treasure that Vriska's been looking for. And they find the treasure, and it's like a transparent Homestuck logo. And John touches the logo, and he becomes what is called Unstuck, which we will explain in a little bit.
Or
Which brings us to the completely pointless Felt plotline, which I have to be honest, I actually do love. It's really stupid and does not add anything to the story from, like, a narrative standpoint, but it's just goofy and fun, and I like it. It originally started after Act 4, and, like, we would see occasionally, like, how things were going, but it hasn't been relevant until now. So, the same way that Earth had the concurrent future chess guys, Alternia also had the concurrent future chess guys. And in the far future, after the session, they are fighting leprechauns, which are another alien species that are basically just a joke.
is that one of them on the right there?
No, that is the author Andrew Hussey.
Okay.
So, Spade Slick, who is Alternia's version of Jack Noir, because he has card motifs, so now he's Spades, meets Doc Scratch and Andrew Hussey, who exists in the comic. And
Sure.
Andrew Hussey beats the shit out of Doc Scratch. And then Lord English kills Andrew Hussey. So the author has now died.
Ah, yes.
Which means he does appear in the Ghost Dream plotline, like, every once in a while. Because he's also a ghost now. Ugh.
Perfect.
And then for some reason, Spade Slick decides to just, like, take over the Felt, which are the Leprechaun guys. And he heads to Earth B. I'm not entirely clear on why he decides to do this, but he does. So,
But he does.
but he does. And finally, to round out our plot lines that are happening in the background of Act 6, we have the extremely important but not actually very relevant Cherub plotline. So this is basically just like the origin story of Lord English, which is important to show us, kind of, but it doesn't really matter. So, in the super duper far future of Earth B, we have these cherubs, Calliope and Caliborn, who, the way cherubs work is that when they're adolescents, they have two personalities. When one goes to sleep, the other one wakes up. So, this one up here is Calliope, and she's like a good person, and the one on the bottom is Caliborn, and he's a bad person. So, when Calliope goes to sleep, Caliborn wakes up, and they communicate to each other by, like, leaving notes and shit. And they serve basically the same purpose as the Trolls did for Earth A, where, like, they message the Earth B kids from time to time, and they sort of, like, talk to them and, like, show them stuff and exist on the other side. But the way cherubs work is that eventually when they reach, like, maturity, one of the personalities subsumes the other, and they become, like, a fully mature cherub. But because Caliborn and Calliope decide to play a version of Suburb, which normally wouldn't be possible, but because they're technically two people, they can play it. In the process of that, Caliborn kills Calliope before he's genetically supposed to be able to, which means he predominates early, which means he is stuck in his adolescent state forever and he can't evolve. The problem with Caliborn doing that is that now he is playing a one-person session of Suburb, which is so bullshit difficult that it should be impossible. It's like challenge, speedrun, Iron Man, like all the bullshit you can possibly imagine. It is incredibly difficult to play, but because he's got, like, the Master Class and is Lord of Time, he manages to do it anyway. And also because he talks to Hussey's ghost while he's doing it, which doesn't really make sense. But he gets to talk to the author, and the author, like, explains things to him, which seems dumb.
It does seem pretty dumb.
But anyway, this, like, plotline ends right before Caliborn meets his denizen, who is Yaldabaoth, who is, like, noted as being the most powerful denizen, and Caliborn, like, gets his choice, which makes him even more powerful and turns him into Lord English. We don't see what happens after Caliborn meets Yaldabaoth, just that, like, he becomes Lord English afterwards.
Gotcha.
So the reason Urania is looking for Calliope is because she can theoretically defeat Caliborn because they're kind of the same person. But she's dead, so, you know, these things happen.
Yeah.
Which finally brings us back to Act 6, Act 3, which is an incredibly cool clusterfuck. A whole bunch of shit happens. It's super dope. I like it a lot. But basically the contest is at this point forcing Roxy and Dirk to play Suburb by destroying the future world. And Dirk has this, like, really cool plan that involves teleporting people around and using his robots to get everyone into Suburb at the same time. And also cutting off his head and teleporting it through time to Jake, who then kisses Dirk's corpse to revive him in the future in the medium so that he can be his dream self so that he can do the thing. It's really stupid, and I love it.
That entire sentence was wild.
Yeah. So anyway, they all enter with Jake's house, which is like the final part of the daisy chain for them. So now they're all in the medium. Which brings us to Act 6, Act 4, and 5. And I'm going to be honest, this is probably the worst stretch of the story. Because... So because their session is void, they basically just spend 5 months being... like getting on each other's nerves and like gradually fraying their relationships because no one else exists. It's just the four of them and they're 16. When on Jane's 16th birthday, she's given a gift by Caliborn and Calliope, which it's a whole thing. Basically, they go on like a sugar bender that's treated kind of like magic mushrooms, but like they get wicked high, do really stupid shit, and just like wake up with a massive hangover, all four of them, on their quest crypts. Luckily, having a hangover apparently makes them, like, really good at having, like, a heart-to-heart with each other, where, like, they all sort of resolve their issues a little bit. Unfortunately, as they're resolving their shit, they all get blown up and ascend to God tier.
Sure.
Coincidentally, this is also when the three-year journey ends. Which leads us to Act 6, everything immediately goes to shit. So, as the humans and trolls enter the new universe, there is a massive problem, which is that when Jade became a dog tier, she fused with her dream self, who was fused with Becquerel, who was her dog. She became part dog, and one of the Condes's psychic powers is the ability to control animals, which extends to Jade.
Perfect.
So, she immediately takes control of Jade, who has, like, minor demigod powers at this point, and then uses a special mind control device on Jane, which she designed specifically for Jane because Jane is her heir, effectively. So the Condes has now taken control of Jade and Jane, which is a massive problem. Jade identifies Dirk as, like, the biggest threat to them, so she immediately teleports him to the edge of the session, and then he spends, like, the next... Was it really the next? Like, yeah, pretty much the entirety of the rest of this act just, like, traveling back to everyone. Then she imprisons Roxy and Jake, and the Condes scatters everyone else. Because basically her goal at this point is to have the session under her thumb and get everyone to do her way, because she wants the session to be successful. She just wants to control the way it's successful, and they control the new universe. So she's trying to get them to all be efficient, and like get the people who will cause them trouble to be gone for now. The problem is, this is when Arania puts her dumbass plan into motion. So Arania and Mina are best friends, and the Condes is basically Mina, just an alternate universe of Mina. So Arania decides that she is going to use the magic ring that will make her alive, which she mind controls Gamzee, because she also has mind control, who's still kicking around. Gamzee is just, like, in the fridge, I think. So Gamzee gives her the magic ring, and she uses the magic ring to become alive, and she's like, okay, I have this great plan because I know how Mina thinks, so I'm going to fight the Condes like I would fight Mina. And one of the ways she does this is by... Okay, so Jake's class is Page. He's the Page of Hope. And pages are hyperscalers, effectively, where they start out weak as shit, and then they get really, really strong. The problem is, because classes are assigned based on personality, pages are basically all wimps. The personality that gets the page is, like, kinda wishy-washy and indecisive. So they're not very good at utilizing their power-ups, and they take a long time to get there. Arania abuses this by making Jake power up uncontrollably, which stun-locks the Condes for a while. The problem is, Bec Noir and the Mail Lady also appear, and her plan is still really stupid, but it disrupts everything just enough to completely fuck everything up. So eventually, when the dust settles, everyone except for John, Roxy, and Terezi is dead. Like, everyone. And the timeline is completely fucked. But because of her specific powers, she has made this the alpha timeline, so it doesn't fix itself. So they're kind of fucked.
Okay.
However, Terezi comes up with a plan, because, as you may recall, John is now unstuck because of the house logo thing, which means that he can teleport to any part of the comic and any time period of the comic, which is not time travel. It is something completely distinct from time travel. I know it sounds like time travel, but it isn't, I swear.
I definitely don't believe you.
The distinction is that time travel works with the timeline, whereas John being unstuck means he can affect the comic itself, which has this really cool thing where, like, when it was originally posting, John would change things, and the actual pages that he went back in time to change things would be changed. So, like, now when you're reading it through, it's been affected. Like, he literally retcons the story.
Gotcha.
So Terezi comes up with, like, a plan of things for him to retcon that will solve the problem, and then dies because she's, like, bleeding out.
Oh, well, boo-hoo.
So now it's just John and Roxy, and Roxy decides to come with John, in part because part of their retcon plan is Roxy is really good friends with Calliope, so she wants to use John's magic ring and retcon it to give it to Calliope so that she can become alive again, as, like, part of fixing the problem, and then also she'll be, like, around and it'll be nice. Also, throughout this time, like, John and Roxy have, like, a genuinely kind of sweet romance arc that sort of, like, blossoms, that then doesn't really go anywhere, but it is kind of sweet, and I like it.
Okay.
Anyway, what was the point of all that? Well, basically all of the things that John does change, like, it retcons the story specifically to bring Vriska back to life. I think this is probably the worst plot point of the story.
He's said for the 6th time.
Look, I keep forgetting that it keeps getting worse.
Fair enough.
For whatever reason, Vriska being alive fixes things for some reason. So, like, Rose is no longer an alcoholic, Dave and Karkat are now best friends, and it definitely doesn't come out of nowhere and isn't immediately, like, made pointless. Basically, they all meet up to, like, come up with a plan to finish things, but part of that plan is Vriska, after becoming alive again, immediately pieces out. Like, she shows up, fixes everything off screen, and then leaves. It's like, what was the point of that?
Well, she fixed everything.
Apparently. But she pieces out to go deal with the dead ghost plotline, which again doesn't resolve, but she does, like, kick it back into final gear. The final battles are approaching. There are currently 4 enemies standing in the way of the new universe frog, and for them to, like, claim the ultimate victory, they have to get rid of these 4 enemies. There's the Condess, and then 3 different Jack Noirs. There's Spade Slick from Alternia, and he's bringing the Felt with him. There's Beck Noir, the Demidog from Earth A, and there's Jack from Earth B, who was put in Prospect Prison after assassinating people, and then got corrupted by Lord English somehow. I don't think it's clear how, but he's, like, mega powerful and nuts right now.
Sure.
The thing is, with the Jacks don't really want to do anything other than cause mayhem and, like, destroy things. So they need to be dealt with, but they're not really a problem. The Condess, on the other hand, does have, like, a plan and wants to do things. Battle number 1 is the important battle, where they need to not just distract the Condess, but defeat her, because she will fuck everything up for them and take over the world if she wins. And also she has, like, a bajillion different psychic powers. She's got, like, mind control, she can put people to sleep, she can control animals, she can, like, throw stuff around with telekinesis. She's a huge problem. She's also, like, very specifically a utility character. So they send their utility characters to, like, sort of gank her. So they send John, who is, like, kind of a mage, but he's, like, a distraction mage. They send Rose, who is a support character, and they send Roxy, who is a rogue, and the Kanaya for good measure. Specifically because they form this team to deal with all of the Condess's tricks. And then Jane is teleporting between this battle and the next battle as their healer. Her goal is to not be caught up in a battle and die because she is their healer. So this is the most important battle, because if they don't kill the Condess, they can't win everything else. They don't necessarily need to kill the Jacks to win, but, like, the Jacks are going to be a problem, so they might as well kill them anyway. Which brings us to Battle 2, which is the heavy hitters. So these 2 Jacks are, like, in raw strength. Well, the Jack on the left in raw strength is important. I don't know why Spade Slick is here. It seems like he was coming with the Felt and they just didn't, like, know what to do, so whatever. But these 2 are, like, powerhouses, so they basically decide to DPS race by sending their 2 highest damage hitters, being Dave and Dirk, to, like, out DPS the Jax, and then Terezi as also a secondary support character, just to like align attacks, basically. Battle 3 is distract the demidogs. So basically these three, Jade's goal here is entirely to just make sure these two don't fuck anything else up, because no one else can really deal with them, and they will deal with each other, but if any of these three get near the Condes, they're mind controlled and the entire plan immediately collapses. So Jade's goal is to basically make sure that they don't fuck up any of the other battles. And finally, that leaves us with Battle 4, Weenie Hut Jr.
Question mark?
These are the leprechauns of the Felt.
Ah.
I'm pretty sure these guys are in this battle mostly to give Jake and Karkat something to do, because they're like not very strong. And part of this story that I find really like compelling is that towards the end, Kanaya she wants to resurrect the troll race, which is like extremely complicated. And part of that is she makes a deal with one of the denizens, and that deal is to make sure that Karkat survives the battle, because he like needs to be around to like help guide the troll race, and it's like a really nice end to their character arcs. And so she just like knocks him out so that he sleeps through the battle.
Perfect.
But he wakes up while the Felt are fighting, but the Felt are like kind of useless. So Karkat and Jake fight the Felt. Jake is a god tier, but he's also a page, so wimpy powers, whatever.
Yeah.
This battle is basically a time waster.
Lovely.
But they all win their battles, and that's basically the end. All the villains are defeated, other than Caliborn, who is currently unreachable by being in the far future, and Lord English, who is also Caliborn, who is killing a bunch of ghosts in the universe that everyone else just left. I don't know, like, we never resolved that plotline. Vriska goes to clean up the ghost plotline, and like the army attacks Lord English, and then Lord English kills a bunch of them, and Vriska starts to use the treasure, and then nothing happens, and that's just like where we leave it. That's just it.
Sure.
Like, okay. But anyway, the heroes claim their ultimate prize, and they get to go into their new universe, and they start a harmonious civilization where humans and trolls and chess guys and a cherub all live in harmony. And that's the end of Homestuck.
I think I understand Homestuck even less somehow.
Yeah, well.
I didn't think that was possible, but Jesus Christ.